Welcome to another episode of The Single Season with your host, me, Alison Wellington. We are here to discuss some of the issues, concerns, and to navigate the treacherous waters of the single season. This episode, we have a very special guest. Her name is Ashley, and she has done a lot of the work so that she can position herself in the dating scene. However, she's a little concerned about losing some of that peace and some of that comfort that we tend to latch onto during that season. So we're going to have Ashley join us and we're going to hear directly from her and she'll share what's going on with her. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Hi, Allison. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So I already let our listeners know, our viewers know that you're doing the work. You're trying to show up as the best version of yourself on the dating scene, but you're kind of gotten addicted to the peace and serenity of the single season. There is a good side of it, which is that peace and serenity. And you're talking about how you tackle that. But maybe from your own mouth, with your own words, can you share with us what's going on?
Absolutely. So I am in a space right now. I love my freedom. I love to travel. I'm kind of a workaholic. I've spent a lot of time in the last couple years building my career and my brand, and all of it has really paid off. But that kind of leaves very little room for dating and kind of getting to know other people, which I feel like the right person I obviously can make time for, but I'm having a hard time kind of letting go of the freedom, being able to kind of do what I want when I want. And I'm trying to figure out how I transition from my selfish single season to a place where I can incorporate someone else's life with mine and eventually be able to, consider all of their day-to-day things. I'm 31 now. I definitely want to start like a family soon. I want to settle down soon. So obviously that means I have to start somewhere. But the
Yes.
thought of kind of letting go some of this freedom and incorporating someone else's life and potential baggage into mine is kind of where I'm having a hard time.
Okay. So that's an excellent question, and it's a legitimate concern that a lot of women, people have overall. So, this is what I would advise for you to do. Number one, I want you to shift your thinking away from how do I give up this selfish but happy single season and incorporate someone else into my life. And
Hmm.
instead, I want you to think about when I incorporate someone else into my life, it's going to be so much more fun, it's going to be so much more enjoyable because you are still going to maintain your individuality. You're not going to lose who you are and what your interests are. And so will that other person, right? So your future husband is still going to be his individual self and have his individual interests and function as his own individual person, right?
Right.
Instead, what you're thinking is, I'm going to be sharing my life with this person, with my husband, and we're going to enjoy times together as well as still enjoy times separately. So I don't want you to imagine that just because you're getting back into the dating scene in a serious and intentional way, you're going to get into that committed relationship which potentially will lead to marriage, that now you're going to lose yourself and you're not going to have that independence. Of course, you'll be doing check ins because you should be checking in with somebody anyway. You should be letting your sister know when you land. You should be letting your mother know when you check into a hotel. Like, that's just the nature of functioning in the world with other people in your life, right? And those are
Right.
the same types of check ins that you would do. You would be reasonable potentially in the times that you come home. Or maybe not. Maybe your partner won't necessarily care once he knows that you're safe, that you can come home at 3 o'clock in the morning once he knows who you're with and that you're safe. It's a safety issue. It's not a control issue, right? So, really, it's about choosing the right partner who has their own individual life, who is looking forward to continue his own so that he is supportive in you continuing your own. And then you're meeting halfway on the things that matter to the both of you when it comes to traveling to particular countries together, right? Normally you travel on your own. Maybe when you go to Paris, the city of romance, you would do that together. Then you also have your girlfriend's trip and he has his guy trip. So it's about understanding that this is a shared life and that shared life is going to improve and be even more fulfilling than you losing anything. And again, choosing a partner that recognizes that and is also looking for that as well. You're not the only one. You're not the only one who's concerned that you might lose yourself in this all, right? So
Right.
that's the first set of advice that I would give you. And we're going to talk about in a moment how you can find that right guy that fits into the lifestyle that you desire. But what I will say, and what I think is a legitimate reason to give you some pause, are the children, child. Now that, and I say this lovingly as a relatively new mom, that's the damper. Like that's the
Oh,
thing that may slow down your process and will really stop you from being able to move as freely as you would like. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to be stuck in the house and can't do anything. You may have to rely on your friends, your family, paid help, but that is more of a concern, which is years down the line. But you getting into the dating scene, don't be concerned about that. So let's pivot a little bit and let's talk about how you can figure out if the guy that you're dating is a good match for your lifestyle. Ashley, tell me a little bit more. I know you said travel. Tell me what else you like to do.
Honestly, I work so much that I rarely have time for hobbies these days. But when I do, I'm into things that get my adrenaline going. I love to like go to the gun range. I love to golf. I love things like paintball, boxing. I just love to be active. I do enjoy being outside. Or I'm the total opposite and I just want to like relax by the beach.
Okay, so why do you think that those things would be conflicting? Some of the activities that you mentioned are even male dominated interests. That sounds like something that you can do with your partner and that would be super fun.
That's true. I don't think it's as much like sharing the interest as much as it is um my I think my lack of desire to commit, and I think it may just be like not finding someone that feels worth committing to or worth like splitting my time with. I think if I have to choose between like getting to know someone who may be a good fit versus like excelling in my career or,
Hmm.
doing something that is personal for me, I always choose the latter.
Hmm.
Um, so I think it's just, I have to just, I think when the right person comes though, I would be willing to kind of share my interests in my life altogether. But I know that my life in general is very crazy. It's very busy. And a lot of people would not be willing to handle that. So
So
I
Ashley,
think,
I'm gonna cut you off for a second. I'm gonna cut
okay.
you off for a second because you just said something that if a guy would have said, it would have been seen as a super red flag and super toxic.
Oh
You
God.
know, if the right person came along,
Yeah.
absolutely not. It cannot function like that. It
Okay.
cannot function like that. Those are the lies that we hear that guys tell women when they're dating because they want to get access to them, access to the drawers, access to whatever. Like, yo, if the right person came along, then maybe I'd get married. If the
Right.
right person came along, then maybe I would commit. That's not the way that it should work. The way that it should work is that I desire marriage and I will marry the right person that comes along. I desire commitment, right? This is what I know that I want. This is where I am in my life right now. And so the game that we're playing, right? The dating process we're going through is just matching the right person to the lifestyle that I'm ready to start right now.
Hmm.
That I'm ready to start right now. So I have to tell you, Ashley, I'm a little concerned if you really do want it now. Maybe you are 31 and so you feel like you're supposed to want it now, but maybe you really just don't. And
Hmm.
that's okay too. A lot of times we feel the pressure and we succumb to the pressure of society because we're a certain age. So, by this age, and maybe mommy or grandma or auntie's like, when you gonna bring a nice guy home? When you gonna have a baby? When you gonna get married? But maybe it just may be that that's not where you are in your life right now. What do you think?
I think that's fair. I agree. I think that's definitely fair. I think I still have a little bit more of the selfish season in me. It does feel like it more so feels like even if I don't want it right this second, I need to kind of be making my way that way.
You do.
And so I just kind of want to prepare myself to be there even in the next like 2 to 3 years. Because I definitely
Okay.
hear it all the time, like when you'll have kids and get married, etc. A lot of my friends and family are in that area, but I'm just kind of doing my own thing right now.
Right. And I get that and I don't want to be a part of the societal pressure, but if you
Mhm.
desire children, then you have some years. I'm not even the 35. I had my baby at 35 and I'm planning another one, right?
Mhm.
So, I'm not even going to put that 35 number on you, but there is some relative limitation and especially if you desire having children in wedlock, that means dating, commitment, engagement, the actual wedding. I would imagine sometime being married, right? Maybe a year or so, or just the two of you. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
count it off 5 things so far, and then it's the practice, the fun part, right? And then
Exactly.
if there are any kind of complications from either one of you, what that might potentially impact the timeline. So yes,
Right.
you do need to be going in that direction. And again, I'm not trying to scare you, but at the same time,
We
you
got to get
may want to
started.
consider putting some real hard deadlines in place. You mentioned being a workaholic. Is there a
Hmm.
particular career goal that you are looking to meet, or are you the type of person that it's never enough, and as soon as you do open up your own storefront, then that's not enough, and then you have your $1 million year and that's not enough? Like, is there a particular goal in mind? I would highly recommend you create it.
No, I'm definitely the latter. I'm a Leo and a Jamaican girl, so it's never enough. I'm always chasing the next thing. But I do realize, like you said, that's my thought process also. Like all those five whatever things means like that's a few years before we even get to the end goal. So we definitely have to get started sooner than later.
Yes. And I just want to say the end goal is always a happy, fulfilling relationship/marriage. That's always the end goal. Not the wedding, not the engagement ring, right? Not the baby, not the pregnancy, but
Right.
a loving, fulfilling marriage relationship. So that's the
Hmm.
end goal. But you do need to begin. So this is what I would also consider. You didn't talk too much about children, more about the pressures of the children, but not necessarily your desire to be a mom. You
So
may
I
want to
definitely,
also, mm-hmm.
sorry to cut you off. I definitely do want children. The reason I'm
Okay.
not in a rush is prior to my current career, I have a long history of a career in childcare. So I'm very well aware of what it takes. I'm very well aware of the cost associated, the time, the effort. And that's honestly why I work so hard now because I want to set myself up for when I get there. Um,
Yes.
but it's way more important for me to have children with the right person into a financially stable, emotionally stable, mentally stable household versus just having them by whatever age.
Yes, yes, and I'm glad that you said that. So that's what I was going to say. What I was going to say is that you may want to spend your time now by vetting, and we're going to talk about that next, vetting the right match for you, living life as you both see fit,
Hmm.
right? You're traveling, you're working hard, and then perhaps you're putting off, and maybe you decide to have one child, but it's in the the environment that you desire. As we said, the committed relationship, potentially marriage that's fulfilling and happy, that you've traveled for the most part to many of the places you choose to travel, that you've met at least some of your career goals that you feel fulfilled in that area, and then putting off. So then that way is the best of both worlds, but we don't want to put off for too long.
Right.
Okay. So now let's talk about vetting this guy. Again, one of the most important things that you mentioned is the lifestyle. You want to maintain your lifestyle as closely as possible as you are now within respect and reason, right? So,
Mhm.
talk to me more about some of the non negotiables. What are the musts? Not preferences, not I would like him to be. What are the musts he has to be that you have?
I would say he has to be God fearing. I feel like if you are, we could kind of get through anything. I have to have someone that's equally as goal oriented as myself. Family driven is very important as well. It probably sounds shallow, but a passport is really important. I feel like when you travel, you experience other cultures that kind of builds you as a person as a whole. Um, and I think someone just like a good communicator, someone easygoing. I jokingly say like the guy version of myself, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not super picky, but I do like the I feel like that's the bare minimum. To other people it may not sound like it, but I feel like the bare minimum, like God, family, career, who wants to like be a husband, wants to be a father, and just kind of has a lot of the same goals and interests that I do.
Mm-hmm. So, I'll say almost everything you said is the bare minimum.
Right.
I'm gonna push back on the passport, but not in a scary way, okay?
Hmm.
What I would say is that sometimes people may not have things in place, but the non negotiables are like breakup worthy, meaning I would
Hmm.
meet this person and they don't have it, I'm no longer communicating with them. You can
That's
get a
fair.
passport in 7 weeks.
Right.
So to end things, to cut someone off, to no longer speak to them, to no longer engage, not one more text, not one more call, not one more date, off of something that can be rectified in 7 weeks, to me would be unreasonable.
That's fair.
Someone gaining a new religion in 7 weeks, that ain't happening, right? Like you want them
Yeah.
to have the same religious identity. Someone desiring to be a father and a husband, I would not push back on. I agree with you. Someone being a solid communicator, I'm not a proponent of teaching someone how to communicate in their 30s, right? The
Mm-hmm.
passport, they can easily apply, spend $185.
Mm-hmm.
They could book an international flight and go to the passport office and get a passport the same day. So,
Okay.
and there may be a good reason. I know you mentioned you're of Caribbean descent, so am I. Maybe they just got their, we don't know, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that part is, do they have a desire to travel? Do they enjoy different cultures and experiences, right? That is the one thing that I would reword for your non-negotiables, because getting the document is easy. Easy peasy chicken greasy.
Okay. That's
Okay, and
fair.
whatever their reasoning, whatever it may be, they were entrenched in their studies. They come from a background where they couldn't afford to travel, and so now they're working so hard. They're working 60-hour weeks at their law firm. They're not in a position to travel, so why are they pressed to get the passport? Now they have you. They have the expendable income. You're saying, baby, let's go next week. And they're like, all right, I'll go get my passport. That's an easy fix, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what I will say, like I said, the other ones are reasonable. I don't think that you're asking for too much, but you did not mention looks. Now, I don't know if that was on
That
purpose or not.
shallow on camera.
Well,
Looks are definitely.
this is the single season. We're trying to get you through these waters that
This
could
is
potentially be
true.
treacherous, and we're the ones who's causing the treachery. So
Yeah.
talk to me. What are the musts?
The must looks. I mean, I definitely need someone that's easy to look at for sure. I'm definitely a visual person. Um, I feel like everything else could kind of be talked, but I think like hygiene is important. Um, like just pride in your appearance is important to me. I obviously would prefer someone well dressed, but that could be worked on if that like
You
it's
can
not an
take their credit
absolute deal
card.
breaker,
You can
right?
take their credit card. You can take their credit card and drag them to whatever stores you prefer and dress them up, and they probably will enjoy it. So
Right.
we'll take, that's removed. Keep going.
Mhm. Um, I think good genes are important if we're talking about reproducing. So definitely looks are there.
What are
Everything
looks?
else,
What looks can be anything: light, dark, beard, bald, tall, short, stocky,
um,
thin. What's looks?
I like taller, a little thick. I do love facial hair. Like my complexion or darker. I
So if
have
he's
a
light skinned, he's out.
probably.
That's a problem.
God, you're making me sound
That's a
terrible.
problem.
Okay.
So if his beard doesn't connect, he's out.
Um, prob-
That's a problem. I'll answer it
not
for
if he
you.
has
That's a
everything
problem.
else. Not if he has everything else.
It's you said taller. How tall are you?
I'm 5'6".
5'6". What
Mm-hmm.
are your tallest heels? 4 inches?
Yes. Let me
Okay,
see.
so you're telling me your guy can't be 5'10"?
Not if we're talking preference. No.
No, we're not talking preferences. Non-negotiables. A must.
Again, if he has all the other qualities, that is not a non-negotiable. I could work around that.
Okay. Okay. I'm glad that you're opening, and I'm glad that you're listening, and I hope that you stick with this. But before we wrap up, Ashley, what are your lingering questions or concerns? How else can I help?
I think you answered most of them. I think it's kind of just like me prepping and kind of moving in the right direction. I think I need to now figure out where to meet the right people.
Mm-hmm.
I need to go out really, other than work for starters.
Yes, and you
You
need
have
to
any
go out
tips
in
on where to
places.
find them?
You need to go out in places and spaces where you are socializing, where socializing makes sense, where the volume of the music or whatever's going on is low enough where you can actually talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you can network. I highly recommend going to networking events, going to conferences, going to mixers in industries that are male dominated. So if even if you're not in an industry that's male dominated, if your friends are, going out with them. They're in law, they're in medicine, they're in real estate. And going to those types of events, you're going to find equally yoked people. That's a reasonable place to start.
Okay. I'll
Okay?
make a point of it.
Now, what about online dating?
I've tried that. Didn't work so well. I'm not completely closed off to it, but
Okay, you already know what my face is going to say, right? So
yeah.
listen here. I just need y'all to rock with me, okay? You've had how many years of experience on dating apps without success?
Maybe like 3, but not super seriously trying on dating apps.
Okay. So if we were to make this scenario anything else, if we were to say, if I told you, well, I want to be a nurse, and I kind of went to some of my nursing classes and I kind of studied sometimes, and I just can't get through the material, so I'm going to quit. You would say to me, Allison, you're being ridiculous. If you want to be a nurse, you have to go to all of the classes. You have to study for the exams. You have to put in the work. So if you're telling me I've been doing this for 3 years in a non-serious way and didn't get results, well, of course you didn't.
Right.
Right? Like
Yeah.
anything that you do. And I know you mentioned how career driven you are. You would never half-ass your career. You would never half-ass a client. So you're half-assing yourself when you say that you want something, but that you're not really putting in a valiant effort.
Right.
And then blaming the app for it. That's not fair.
Fair play. Fair point.
Right? So if we're
Yeah.
going to be intentional, we need to be intentional in whatever method we choose. I recommend both online and offline. I know there's some people who are just dead set against one or the other, and that's fine. But whatever we choose, we have to go full throttle. We can't say, I want to lose weight, but I refuse to diet and exercise. We can't say we want to be in a committed relationship, but we're not going outside or not serious on dating apps.
True.
Okay? So, Ashley, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. Have a good one. So for our closing conversation, I hope that you guys can learn from Ashley and to not allow social pressures to push you in a direction that you may not particularly be ready for. Of course, we have biology behind us, so we have to be reasonable and look at the timeline. But at the same time, if you know that you're not ready to give up some of the things that are required for a healthy, happy relationship, then you need to move at your own pace, keeping in mind that you do have a particular end goal in mind. Guys, folks, I want to thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Single Season. And if you are interested in being a guest or booking a consultation, please go ahead and head to my website, alignwithallison.com. It's right at the bottom of the screen, alignwithallison.com. Have a good one.